the wiles, the cunning. Satan loves to divide and rip families, churches apart through lies and sin and evil. I mean, it's the wiles of the devil, man. I mean, but the key is to thank God for the problem. We don't have to fight forever. It's over at the rapture, man. We're done. And I think that's soon. I'm not a date setter, okay? I don't know. 3 years, 4 years from now, 5 years, I don't know. But I think the Lord's coming soon. And once we go up, we can't be bitter and hate humans, right? But the devil and his angels are not humans. Do you get it? That's a different race, okay? And we're allowed to hate them, right? Does that make sense? Did I say that right? Okay.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, July 5th, 2023. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you are from the USA like me, I hope you enjoyed a long weekend, whether it was with family, your extended family, your immediate family, doing whatever it is that you love on this long Independence weekend. Some people might still be at home, seriously. So let's talk, because last week I uploaded this video and we talked about all these different things that are going on with the Duggars at the moment. I'm constantly amazed at how this family continues to deliver content that is not only horrible, insensitive, false, demeaning, degrading, all of the above, and how, for the most part, they're able to just go on like nothing happens, right? So we were talking about how Anna's dad was down in Fort Worth. He was speaking at the Fair Park Baptist Church, which is a church that is, the lead pastor is David Waller. David Waller, who is the former director of the Advanced Training Institute of the IBLP and the former assistant of Bill Gothard. We talked about how David Waller had been called out last week by one of Gothard's victims for help aiding and abetting Gothard in what he did to her, allegedly. And we've heard a lot, right? And yet, we hadn't heard a response from the church in question here about the sermon that has gone viral that Michael Keller.
This is how you change America, okay? In my humble opinion. Hey, think about it. 150 years ago, or 200 years ago, when the blacks were slaves, did they ever go to Washington, D.C. and have a rally 200 years ago to protest against slavery? Did they? No. What did they do? Well, a lot of good people in the plantations would say, hey, it's wintertime. Let us help build a church for you, dear folks. And they loved them and taught them how to read so they can read the Bible. And here's what the blacks did about 150 years ago. They humbled themselves. They prayed. They sought God's face and they turned from their wicked ways, and God made slavery illegal.
We've also not heard a response from David about the allegations by Emily Anderson, who accused him of aiding and abetting Gothard. So Michael Keller's sermon was 45 minutes, okay? And it was delivered at Fair Park Baptist Church, and it was about overcoming spiritual warfare. That was the title. The title of it was, What is Spiritual Warfare and How Do We Overcome? This was a very long-winded, nonsensical, completely inaccurate, horrible advice, and out-and-out racist. And that clip of him discussing how freedom was granted for slaves is what has caused tons of outrage on the internet. I would venture to say that that was one of the more despicable aspects, although at the very end, somehow people missed that he said that people have a right to hate Satan and his angels because they are of a different race. Gross. So apparently, Tarrant County's Fair Park Baptist Church has issued a apology, non-apology. And I call it that because I don't see the words "I'm sorry" at any place in the statement that was released through the local newspaper in Fort Worth. Okay, there's no statement whatsoever on the church's website. This was a email statement to the Star Telegraph that's in Dallas and Fort Worth, and it's really despicable. So let's talk about that. Before we do, can you please do me a big favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, please subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Make sure to click on the bell if you'd like to get notified of any time I go live and new content loads. And make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say, and share this video with your friends. By now, you should know that this viral clip that I actually shared last week and we also talked about on Friday was Michael Keller basically saying and praising white owners of plantations, praising them for teaching slaves how to read, and that the slaves were able to turn from their wicked ways and humble themselves, and that is how they gained their freedom, which is historically inaccurate. He used derogatory language to refer to the individuals that were being held in captivity, and he was just very, very outwardly racist. That clip went everywhere and people have been outraged, okay? This was uploaded the Sunday of June 25th, okay? It was deleted by the church by midweek. No comments from the church about the statements, nothing. It just was removed from the website like it never happened. I had downloaded a full copy of it, all right? It's circulating everywhere still. And the Star Telegraph reached out for a comment to the church, and they sent an email to them. And the Star Telegraph, I want to remind you, is claiming that this is an apology. Now, I don't see anywhere it says they are sorry. So it says an email statement Tuesday from the church's media manager said Keller's comments were hurtful and reflected a misrepresentation of racial and historical issues. They said they disagreed with Keller's statements. Okay, so they said it was hurtful and reflected a misrepresentation of racial and historical issues. There is no apology in that statement thus far. The statement continues. Fair Park Baptist Church affirms that racism and slavery are wrong, sinful, and violate the scriptures. As part of our faith, we would never condone slavery or tolerate any kind of prejudice against people of color. We seek to follow God's words found in Romans 12:9. Let love be without dissimulation, hypocrisy, abhor that which is evil, and cleave to that which is good. So he is saying that he doesn't agree with his father-in-law, which is completely opposite of the teachings of the IBLP. So he's dishonoring his parents by saying he disagrees with his father-in-law. So he's literally slamming his father-in-law to save his own church. He will drive the bus over Michael Keller for making the statements at his church. He will defy the rules of the IBLP when it's deemed fruitful for him to do so to get out of trouble. But if anyone else, for instance, Jill Duggar, were to do this and denounce the wicked teachings of the IBLP when it comes to women, they are dishonoring their parents and they're going to hell, and they have a right to be hurt because of it. Because in the IBLP, they teach these really disturbing old biblical, Old Testament principles about what the penalties are for people that decide to speak out against their parents, right? So when it's convenient for Waller to not agree with his parents to get out of a pickle when it comes to racism, he can do it. But if Jill is, for instance, going to point out the SA or whatever happens in the IBLP and the horrific teachings around SA and victims, then it's you have dishonored your parents. So which is it, David? Are you dishonoring Michael by disagreeing with him? Or is it okay for you, but it's not okay for Jill, I'm asking for a friend. Had there not been any backlash, I totally think that this statement would be still on their YouTube channel. And what I think is odd is rather than address the controversy, David Waller posts a short clip on his Facebook Reels, on his Instagram Reels, and on YouTube Shorts, which is about freedom. And instead of talking about freedom in the United States of America, he talks about freedom in Christianity and how Christians are free and the freedom that they can achieve, which again, 4th of July is not about Christianity's freedom. But instead of responding to this, where he could have issued a statement on his Reels, where he could have been sensitive to the pain that they've caused, he goes into some weird diatribe about Christians and freedom and what religious freedom is and how Christ died for sins. There's no statement on the website. There's no statement on their YouTube channel. There's literally no statement, period. There's no I'm sorry. And I feel like this kind of language is what they use when they get caught in something. I want to remind people that the congregation that they have in Fort Worth, which is primarily white, is also a IBLP congregation. In the same sermon that he did this speech about about racism and talked about all these horrible things that men do to women, he also told people how he used to be the leader of the basic seminar and recruited people at his local church to go to the basic seminar. It's also an IBLP church.
Many years ago, wow, 35 maybe, I went to Faith Baptist Church in South Florida, and I was the group coordinator for the basic seminar, and I motivated this young man to come, his name is Pat, to the basic seminar, and he soaked it up. He was doing so good, you know.
Most Christians like this, that are white nationalists like Michael Keller, will say that they're not racist because they'll say it's not scripture, it's not in scripture, it's wrong, it's evil, but yet they will adhere to terminology like what he said at the very end. So at the very end of this sermon, Michael says that the rapture is coming, that the end of the world is soon, probably in 3 to 4 to 5 years. And he says, and he goes on this weird diatribe about how, you know, he can't wait because then they'll go up into heaven and then they'll be able to go up there for 7 years and then they come down and they're going to rule the world with Christ and then Satan's going to have to go to hell. And he ends this whole sermon about how Christians are not allowed to actually hate anyone, but they are allowed to hate Satan and his angels. And he says, because they are of another race, we're allowed to hate them because they're not the same as us.
And the good news is we don't have to fight forever. It's over at the rapture, man. We're done. And I think that's soon. I'm not a date setter, okay? I don't know. 3 years, 4 years from now, 5 years, I don't know, but I think the Lord's coming soon. You know, we can't be bitter and hate humans, right? But the devil and his angels are not humans. Do you get it? That's a different race, okay? And we're allowed to hate them, right?
They're wicked. Throughout this entire sermon, he kept referring to people in large metropolitan areas as wicked. He referred to Gainesville as wicked and South Florida as wicked. They consistently will refer to places like Los Angeles as wicked, areas where there is a high density of non-religious as well as a high density of people of color. His wicked that he kept discussing in this sermon was people of color. So he's justifying this at the end that he's allowed to hate because they're satanic. And that's the mental gymnastics these people will do when they try to justify their feelings for people. They will do the same thing with the LGBTQ plus because they will say that that is satanic and they are allowed to hate them because it's satanic. They're a different race, they're a different sexuality, so therefore we can hate them. It's twisted and it's wrong and it's, again, not biblical. So this is not an apology. I want to say I reached out to them for a comment. I have not heard back from their media manager. I would love to see the full email that was sent to the Star Telegraph because, again, I see no apology. And again, I want to remind that people that if they had not been called out, if this video had not been viral, this video, I believe, would still be on their YouTube channel, and no one would have been the wiser. They're only doing this because they got caught. Because mark my words, most of the people that are at this church believe just like Michael Keller, because that's what Bill Gothard teaches. It's disgusting. So tell me what your thoughts are. Was it an apology? Is it a non-apology? And what do you think about them, the IBLP, Keller, being able to justify saying, I am allowed to hate people that are satanic and his angels because they are of a different race? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.